Welcome to everybody. My name is Kaustubh. I'm the founder of Alpha Wealth Avenues, firm with a research DNA and in love with the markets since the last 2 decades. We have invited Jiten Parmar sir for this space. He does not need any introduction, being a famous big investor, but I would certainly like to say quite a few words for his introduction and, of course, due respect. So, Jiten sir, as we all know, is an entrepreneur and a passionate long-term investor. He has been investing in the Indian equity market since 2002, and prior to that, he invested in the US markets. But the best part is, इन्होंने काफी सारे सेशंस कंडक्ट किए हैं जहां पे अपना इन्वेस्टिंग अप्रोच, बिहेवियरल एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ इन्वेस्टिंग, वैल्यू इन्वेस्टिंग, साइक्लिकल इन्वेस्टिंग ये बहुत अच्छी तरह से समझाया है. मैं तो उनका फैन हूं. He is one of the foremost value and cyclical investors, having regularly featured on premier business channels like CNBC, ET Now Swades, and many more accomplishments. तो चलिए सर डाइव इन करते हैं. एंड सबसे पहला सवाल जो हमने 2 साल से मैं ऑब्जर्व कर रहा हूँ, समवेयर अराउंड एंड ऑफ 23 स्टार्ट ऑफ 24 आपके जैसे इंटरव्यूज थे, आप जहां जहां फीचर होते थे, फिर आपके ट्विटर पोस्ट जो थे 2024 में, you were pretty cautious about the market outlook and you were advising the investor community to be cautious and not be very bullish. Okay, so क्या हम जान सकते हैं कि आपके उस टाइम पे क्या ऑब्जर्वेशंस थे, क्या रिसर्च था जिससे यू टर्न कॉशियस when obviously every ABC was very bullish on the market? Ethan sir, could you hear me?
One sec. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to switch on the mic. Yeah, so the primary reason was valuations. Valuations across the board on a broader scale. I never seen such kind of valuations across a breadth of stocks. So I don't know, I put out some data also. A humongous number of stocks were at very high valuations. Rarely seen in my 30 years of equity investing. So, I mean, that was the kind of starting point. And obviously, see, valuations can be rich, but then earnings have to match up to it. So, I don't think earnings were matching up to the kind of valuations which were there. And there was a lot of, storification narratives and, investing without looking at valuations. So it was very clear, and Twitter or social media gives a good temperature check. Also, when you see so many recommendations flying around, so many people who, who sprung out of nowhere and became like furus, as we call them, and recommending stocks left, right, and center. And so, I mean, the euphoria was just palpably visible, and that's why we were cautious. But yes, the primary reason was valuations.
Right. Yeah, so that is well understood. Just एक आपका जो एक आपने कैचवर्ड यूज किया, स्टोरिफिकेशन. तो एक्चुअली ऐसे हुआ था कि इन 23-24 मे बी फ्रॉम से मार्च 23 टू जून 24, तो काफी सारा जो स्टोरिफिकेशन था उस टाइम पे वो सच भी हो रहा था. यू हैड स्टॉक्स जो 6 महीने में 3x 4x गए, देन देवर डिफेंस स्टॉक्स, देवर रेलवे स्टॉक्स एक्सेट्रा. तो ऐसे टाइम पे सर जो एक नॉर्मल इन्वेस्टर होता है, ओके, एक होता है कि स्टोरिफिकेशन चल रहा है एंड यू आर नॉट फाइंडिंग रियली द काइंड ऑफ यूफोरिया. बट एज यू राइटली सेड कि यूफोरिया भी था, स्टोरिफिकेशन भी था, प्राइसेस वर आल्सो फ्लाइंग फास्ट. तो ऐसे टाइम पे अ पर्सन हु डज नॉट हैव एज मच एज अ रिसर्च बैकग्राउंड, उसके लिए क्या हो सकता है कि एक कॉशनरी अप्रोच, व्हाट कैन बी द सिंपल थिंग्स ही कैन लुक एट टू गार्ड हिज कैपिटल, वो थोड़ा एक समझा सकते हैं?
Yeah, so I mean, there are two types of investors. See, one will be, one is who will be investor who would want to look at fundamentals and invest, right? And then there will be, basically people who want to trade, look at, price charts and all that. तो उनके लिए तो अलग ही criteria है. I mean, that is also fine if you can do it well. Most people don't actually. So uh, see, value investor के लिए तो कोई sense ही नहीं बनता. When you have stocks at PEG of, I follow PEG a lot, and PEG, stocks which are growing at, let's say, 20% or 25% were at 100 P, 120 P, 130 P. So that kind of PEG is not sustainable unless you have kind of, very long runway of that kind of growth. तो ठीक है कि 4 और 5 का पीईजी एक बार सस्टेन भी हो जाए कि 5 years, 7 years, 10 years का आपके पास दैट काइंड ऑफ ग्रोथ का विजिबिलिटी है, तो देन मे बी इट कैन सस्टेन. बट दैट जनरली विल नेवर हैपन. इट विल हैपन इन रेयरेस्ट ऑफ रेयर केसेस के ये ग्रोथ फॉर अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम चलेगा. तो उस वक्त आपको
Right.
मतलब ये समझना जरूरी है कि वैल्यूएशंस क्या दे रहे हैं आप. और सी तो वैल्यू इन्वेस्टर को तो वैल्यूएशन देखना चाहिए, और ही शुड फोकस ऑन यू नो वैल्यू, और उनके लिए मतलब यू जस्ट वेट फॉर राइट वैल्यू, मतलब पेशेंस प्रैक्टिस करना है. और ग्रोथ और मोमेंटम और ट्रेडिंग जो करते हैं उनको डिसिप्लिन रखना है. आई मीन यू कैन, आप फिर फंडामेंटल्स तो नहीं देख रहे हो, आप प्राइस एक्शन देख रहे हो वगैरह, देन यू हैव रिस्क मैकेनिज्म्स इन प्लेस. मतलब तो आई मीन आई एम नॉट नो वन टू जज एनीबडी ऑन what investing style they prefer, but you will be one of these two, right? तो उसके लिए जो attributes है वो important है, and not everybody is cut out to be a value investor, and not everybody is cut out to be a trader. So for example, I am not cut out to be a trader, so I know where my bearing is. So basically understanding yourself is very important. So for me, value works. So that is why I take on this.
Yes, yes. Well understood. So जो ट्रेडिंग करना चाहते हैं, प्राइस एक्शन देखना चाहते हैं, उनके लिए भी कोई मैकेनिज्म होना चाहिए. जस्ट स्टोरी करके यू कैन नॉट बाय एट एनी प्राइस. सो वेदर इट इज अ ट्रेडर और इन्वेस्टर, buy at any price will anyway be counterproductive. That's what you are saying. And then when to sell is always a mix of science and art. सर, तो अभी नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है जो मैंने भी आपको बहुत साल से फॉलो किया है, एक साइक्लिकल सेक्टर्स जिन्हें बोला जाता है. वहां पे यू हैव ऑलवेज बीन अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग commentator, research, and that is where you have been able to ride a cycles on that. And we have seen you presenting कि किसी साइकिल में इनिशियली you could not make money but later on you could. तो हमारे अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए अभी कौन से साइक्लिकल सेक्टर्स रहेंगे जो एक आइदर बॉटम फॉर्म कर रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑफ द whatever either the market condition or in generally the sector has in a cycle formed a bottom and which can now possibly do well in the next couple of years.
Yeah, so before getting on to what sectors and all that, I mean, understanding that cyclicality affects almost everything in the market is very, very important. Uh, so some will be, shallow cyclicals, and some will be deep cyclicals. So shallow cyclicals will be, like your FMCG companies and all that. I mean, there also you see variances and they are affected by host of factors. So there is some level of cyclicality in them also. And we have seen that even in the recent past, last 1 2 years, you have seen that even the FMCG sector, for example, has been affected, and their rates have come down, their margins have come down, and so on. So cyclicality तो सभी जगह होता है, उनमें कम होता है, and there will be sectors like metals, commodities, जहाँ पे it is quite deep, तो वहाँ पे बहुत बड़ा variance होता है. तो understanding that there is a cyclicality in almost every stock sector uh, is important. That is the first thing one must acknowledge. And even if it is less cyclical, market cycles can affect everybody, even the shallow cyclicals. So marrying business cycles and market cycles, that is what will give you superior returns, and that will make you a far better investor. Understanding both these cycles are very, very important is what I think. uh, so so that is something which I wanted to say on cyclical. So you know all across there have been a lot of people saying कि यार cyclical में हमको invest नहीं करना है या कुछ. तो यार cycles तो सभी जगह है, आप समझो थोड़ा. If not business cycle, then market cycles will affect you. We have seen so many examples. I mean, if you see my Twitter feed, you will see I've given examples of stocks which are not cyclical, not giving any returns for 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, and so on. तो वो क्यों हो रहा है? ग्रोथ तो हो रहा है कंपनी में, सिक्लिकल नहीं है तो देयर इज ग्रोथ, मतलब 20 की जगह 15 हो रहा है, बट हो रहा है, लेकिन उसके बावजूद 3-3 साल 4-4 साल रिटर्न नहीं हो रहा है। तो मार्केट साइकिल्स आर एट प्ले, so you have to understand that, and it all boils down to basically valuations and PEG and so on. तो ये समझना थोड़ा जरूरी है when investing, in cyclicals or non-cyclicals, as people say. So coming back to what I like, where we think that there is kind of opportunity as far as cycles is concerned, is since last 1 year I think our foremost call has been on financials, banking and financials, and that has worked pretty well even in the last 8 months of corrections. A lot of the financials are actually up, uh, so that has kind of worked. Again, we still think that there is still some time for financial there, and in fact, there are still a lot of pockets of valuation in financials and banking, which one can look at. So that is one sector. Chemicals is one sector which I think is very much down, and I think can be looked at if one has a slightly medium to long term view. Select building materials, we kind of like. Cement is another sector which we think can do well. Again, it has come off a really bad FY25. FY26 is poised to be better, much better. So that is one sector which we think can do well, and valuations are also in favor. Oil and gas downstream looks decent. We think that that could be taken as a positional play. I would not advise long-term investing in that sector uh, because of the dependency on crude prices and all. Metals and mining has been down for quite a while. That sector again, one has to be extremely selective because valuations across the board are still not as juicy as one would like. Uh, so yeah, these are some of the sectors which we think can do well, and where cycle get done.
Okay, okay. No, that's thanks for that because I think you have actually hit the nail on the head कि जहाँ पे लोगों को एक स्टोरिफिकेशन चाहिए होता है तो स्टोरिफिकेशन हमेशा जो ऑलरेडी हो चुका है उसका होता है जैसे आपने एक प्रेजेंटेशन में बोला था व्हेन एवरीबॉडी इज टॉकिंग अबाउट अ सेक्टर और अ स्टॉक that is actually the right time to exit or at least partially exit. So I'm sure ये जो आपने sectors बताए, those have not been past performers in the last 2-3 years much. Of course, banking and financials तो last 6 महीने में especially in the downturn, it has really started doing well. Even the bigger names. Okay. So इसमें next एक logical था कि when we talk about a banking and financials or a chemicals, these are very broad-based sectors with many subsectors or subsegments of business. That is one. और फिर इनमें कौन से स्पेसिफिक वैल्यूएशन पैरामीटर्स या व्हाट इज इट दैट यू लुक फॉर और वन शुड लुक फॉर ताकि पता चले कि वैल्यूएशन तो कम है as of now because obviously in the last 3-4 years that particular sector and all the main players in the sector have not done much लेकिन आगे जाके दिस इज लाइकली टू बूम दिस इज लाइकली टू बी द वन वेयर वी कैन बेट ऑन इसके लिए कौन से 2-3 मेन पॉइंट्स हम देख सकते हैं जिसके ऊपर डीप डाइव करके रिसर्च करके we can always come to some conclusion. That is the next thing we would like to understand from you.
Yeah. So again, investing is a game of probability. Uh, आपको थोड़ा सेक्टर समझना पड़ेगा. लेट्स टेक एग्जांपल ऑफ केमिकल्स. ओके. तो केमिकल्स में हम लोगों को देखना पड़ेगा कि भाई ये जो कंपनी है इसने जो भी इतना कैपेक्स किया है, व्हाट इज द काइंड ऑफ अर्निंग और रेवेन्यू दे कैन मेक. या आप बहुत बार प्राइसिंग इतना मटेरियली डिफरेंट होता है तो देन यू कैन लुक एट वॉल्यूम. एक्चुअली दैट कुड बी अ बेटर मेट्रिक टू लुक एट के ये इतना वॉल्यूम्स कर सकता है. एंड you can also find out from past cycles okay, these are the kind of EBITDA they make in good cycles or bad cycle में ये EBITDA the operating margins they make maybe come at kind of a mid kind of EBITDA number or operating margin. So for example in bad cycle let's say they do 6% and in good cycles they do 20%. So you
Hmm.
can build some stages where कि ये 10% का मार्जिन करेगा तो ये इसका नंबर आ सकता है, ये 15 करेगा तो
Hmm.
ये, so based on that you build different scenarios and you see what can happen if cycle turns and all that. So generally the way I invest is I put my foot in the door when ये मतलब इस एग्जांपल में मतलब वो 6-8% के वैल्यूएशन मतलब सपोज आ गया which is kind of the bottom valuation उस पे आ गया तो maybe I will, that is when I put the you know put a foot in the door, buy very small quantity and track it very aggressively, and then मुझे जब कुछ चेंज दिखने लगे okay, yes, now things can change, then is when I ramp up. So generally most of the times I invest when these are in down cycle, जब सब खराब होता है, तो valuations बहुत ही juicy होते हैं उस वक्त. And then you build different scenarios. So we build bear case scenario के worst ये continue रहा तो क्या हो सकता है, and then we look at a fair case scenario, a bull case scenario and a blue sky scenario. तो अलग अलग मैट्रिक्स बना के रखते हैं हम लोग, एंड देन ऑफ कोर्स इट इज लॉट ऑफ आइटरेशंस इन बिटवीन एंड ऑल दैट कि कब इसको रैंप अप करना है, कब इसको बढ़ाना है, कब इसको घटाना है, वो सब एक ओवर अ पीरियड विद एक्सपीरियंस यू लर्न दिस थिंग्स के भी ठीक है, अर्बुल केस सिनेरियो अपना पे आउट हो रहा है, then maybe we can exit some, wait for the blue sky scenario and so on. So that is the way to look at it कि इसका potential क्या हो सकता है, because when you're doing a contrarian investing और डाउन साइकिल में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो तो सब आप पी पे नहीं जा सकते हो, आप आरओसी पे नहीं जा सकते हो, आरओई पे नहीं जा सकते, बिकॉज ये सब डिप्रेस्ड होता है वहां पे. So you have to look at other parameters. तो इनमें पैरामीटर्स हम लोग देखते हैं ज्यादातर, ये देखते हैं कि रिप्लेसमेंट कॉस्ट क्या है या प्राइस टू बुक क्या है. These are more important parameters for cyclicals. So I always say, for cyclicals, P is least important, and for growth and
Hmm.
non-cyclicals, P and PEG are the most important. But people do it the other way around, and that is where mistakes happen. So for non for growth companies which are growing at 20%, if you are paying 100 times at the P, you should be looking at कि भाई मैं 100 पी पे ले रहा हूँ, 5 पीजी पे ले रहा हूँ, वही वही पैरामीटर आपको देखना होता है, और आप वही नहीं देखते हो और उसको इग्नोर करते हो. और एक सिक्लिकल होता है, वो आपको 100 के पी पे दिखता है और आप बोलते हैं यार इसका तो पी बहुत महंगा है, लेकिन यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट दैट इज एट डिप्रेस्ड अर्निंग्स और समथिंग, वो दैट पी इज नॉट द रियल, और गुड साइकिल और पी और समथिंग. तो पी को आपको बैलेंस करना जरूरी है उसमें. सो पी इज आप कर ही रहे हो तो आप उसको एटलीस्ट make sure that you take the average P or something like that. And that's why I say P is, and that is quite a difficult job to do because आपको बहुत कुछ डेटा देखना पड़ेगा. तो P is one of the worst parameters to look at for cyclicals.
Right, right. So 2-3 चीजें हमें समझ में आई. एक तो एबिटा का जो हाइज एंड लोज है प्रीवियस 1-2 साइकिल का, वो देखना चाहिए, सो दैट यू आर अवेयर दैट when the EBITDA is getting depressed and it is going towards the lower end, and maybe
Hmm.
at that time the demand is
More
increasing,
instead of
so in the
EBITDA, I
future.
will look at the margins, OPMs or margins is more
Right,
important because ये हो सकता है कि EBITDA बढ़ जाए because उसने expansion किया हो, तो that EBITDA number might not be valid. Previous expansion किया है
right.
तो you will expect a higher EBITDA and all that. तो OPM देखना ज्यादा ज्यादा
Hmm.
जरूरी रहेगा. Yes, if it is not done expansion and all that और वही है तो फिर आप EBITDA भी देख सकते हो.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's well understood. भी नो आपने एक सेक्टर अभी जो प्रॉमिसिंग सेक्टर्स में मेंशन किया, दैट इज मेटल्स एंड माइनिंग. And as you rightly said, there has been a fair bit of run up in that sector. Then obviously some breather has to happen. So इसमें थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन रहता है हमेशा कि देयर कैन बी फॉर दोज हु डोंट अंडरस्टैंड साइक्लिकल्स, और हम भी सीख रहे हैं कि कौन से सेक्टर का एक्चुअली अपसाइकल कितने साल हो सकता है. सपोज कोई सेक्टर 1-1.5 साल के लिए अच्छा चला, देन 7-8 months ऑब्वियसली नाउ देर इज ओवरऑल शायद आपके ऑपरेटिंग मार्जिन पीबी हैव ऑल्सो रीच्ड अ सर्टेन लेवल, and to some extent it has taken a breather. So now whether that upcycle can continue, or is it a pause, or it was a shorter cycle this time, ये सब एक बेसिक डाउट्स रहते हैं, बिकॉज यू आर in your presentations, we have seen that your patience and your ability to ride a multi-year cycle is very high. Okay, but many people, unfortunately, उतना नहीं होता है कि सपोज 6 महीना 1 साल तक if nothing happens. तो there are many self doubts rather than doubts about the sector. तो वैसे metals and mining का आपको क्या लगता है? At what stage we are in and what can be the outlook for the next couple of years?
So I don't think metals अभी मतलब अभी कोई बहुत अच्छा कर रहा है, to be honest. If you see प्राइसिंग वगैरह काफी डाउन है कंपैरेटिवली, और जिस हिसाब से प्राइसिंग डाउन है उस हिसाब से वैल्यूएशंस नहीं है. आई मीन, प्रीवियस साइकिल्स में यू वुड गेट कंपनीज एट 0.4 0.5 प्राइस टू बुक इन अ डाउन साइकिल वगैरह. ये बार वो है नहीं अभी भी. मतलब अच्छी कंपनीज आर एट 1.7 1.8 1.5 2 प्राइस टू बुक. तो आई एम सेइंग के जो मजा पहले आता था मेटल्स में इन्वेस्ट करने का और मल्टीबैगर जो बनने के, उसके चांसेस अभी धीरे धीरे कम होते जा रहे. एंड इसका रीजन आई कुड बेसिकली मैं भी सोच रहा था कि ऐसा ये बार क्यों हुआ है, फॉर एग्जांपल. और उसका रीजन एक ही है कि बैलेंस शीट्स हैव रियली इम्प्रूव. इन द पास्ट साइकिल्स बहुत सारा लीवरेज होता था कंपनी में, एग्जिस्टेंशियल थ्रेट्स होते थे. That is when you would get stocks at 0.3 0.2 0.4 price to book. Now balance sheets are pristine. I mean, even in down cycle they are still throwing EBITDA, though lesser, but अभी भी मतलब profits throw कर रहे हैं. In past cases, the lot of these companies in this kind of pricing environment would have been making losses because they were levered. तो leverage बहुत कम हो गया है, तो बैलेंस शीट बहुत अच्छे होने की वजह से उनका वैल्यूएशन भी इतना गिरा नहीं है. सो हमको थोड़ा रिटर्न्स टेम्पर करना चाहिए फ्रॉम व्हाट वी यूज्ड टू मेक इन द पास्ट. दैट इज द कंक्लूजन आई हैव कम टू. तो सो दैट इज माय टेक ऑन करंट मेटल्स एंड कमोडिटीज के. यहाँ पे मतलब मल्टी बैगर्स बनाना मुश्किल होगा अभी मेरे को लगता है, जस्ट बिकॉज वैल्यूएशंस उतने नीचे नहीं आए अभी तक.
Right. So,
But you can,
are we
but to add, but you can make like 50%, 60%, 70% over the next, let's say, 2 years or something. Yeah, yeah, maybe in some cases even a doubler in 2 years, 3 years. वो possibility है. But previous cycles we used to have stocks where we made like 10x, 15x, 20x. वैसा कुछ अभी दिख नहीं रहा है, to be honest.
right, right? So we are somewhere midway in the cycle, and
Hmm.
maybe there is juice left, but not simply fast and furious मुश्किल है.
या नहीं, उतना नहीं लगता कि कोई बड़ा रिटर्न बनेगा यहाँ पे.
Right, right. We one sector that you have presented a lot in the earlier years is real estate. अभी सबको almost पता है कि almost for 12 years real estate was kind of in the doldrums as far as the main companies, their parameters and then the prices was concerned. And then somewhere in 22 23 I think it bottomed out, and in 24 we have seen some of the main players. First of all, I think the demand went up post COVID. As the demand went up, it had a good effect, virtuous effect on the inventory which was built up over a decade, and everybody was crying about too much inventory. बट सर ऐसा भी लगता है कि जो ओवर सप्लाई था इन द मेन सिटीज, ओके, दैट कुडंट हैव एक्चुअली गॉन अवे. एंड सेकेंडली, अभी वापस ओवर सप्लाई तो चालू ही है, nobody stopped constructing, okay, and the pricing always remains a bit of a question mark. Like many times a builder might say like we are also Pune based, okay, so in some of the good areas it has been said कि compared to 21 or 22 अभी price 50% 60% ज्यादा है. But is it actually the realized price or what is quoted? So net net ये है कि again real estate has been doing well for a couple of years. So क्या ये साइकिल भी एक डिकेडल साइकिल लगता है? And the spin-off effect on the construction products. What is your overall view where we are on this cycle?
So generally, real estate cycles are long cycles. So generally, they last for 8-10 years. Okay, on an average. ये साइकिल शुरू हुआ है आपका 2028 में, समझो ना. आई थिंक पोस्ट कोविड ये शुरू हुआ, मे बी 2021 एक्चुअली रादर. सो
Right.
from historical perspective, it still has minimum few years left for the cycle to turn. So and that's what I am going by right now. As far as pricing is concerned, yes, pricing has gone up. Uh, affordability थोड़ा मुश्किल होते जा रहा है. Uh, that is true, but I think at the same time middle और upper middle class में थोड़ा earnings भी comparatively बढ़ा है. तो I still think there is enough demand. uh, थोड़ा प्राइसिंग रैशनलाइजेशन हो सकता है. कमर्शियल में थोड़ा इशू मुझे ज्यादा दिखता है, टू बी ऑनेस्ट. बट आई थिंक रेसिडेंशियल कैन कैन डू वेल, शुड डू वेल. थोड़ा अभी ये हर साइकिल में बीच में देयर विल बी सम लल पीरियड्स एंड ऑल दैट, एंड आई थिंक दैट इज व्हाट वी आर सीइंग राइट नाउ. इट जस्ट अ स्मॉल लल पीरियड इन अ अप साइकिल. तो रियल एस्टेट तो ठीक लग रहा है. अगेन वी टॉक अबाउट प्राइसिंग, तो प्राइसिंग में ये है कि कॉस्ट भी बहुत बड़े हैं, एंड देन वी हैव लॉट ऑफ इनएफिशिएंसीज, एंड we all know, okay, there are other costs which keep on increasing, and uh, so I think some price correction happen, but कोई बड़ा price correction भी नहीं दिखता है, to be honest, because costs have gone up. Another thing which has happened is, solid consolidation has happened. There were, so many developers in the previous cycles, uh, and during the last cycle, काफी formalization, last down cycle, काफी formalization. A lot of people got out of the industry, or so the bigger consolidation हुआ है, and the bigger have become bigger. Uh, and the trend is more towards the branded place. So so that formalization is also happening, which I think will continue, and that's what keeps these the bigger players and the listed players in good stead. So I kind of still like the sector.
Okay. So maybe 2-3 years of good times have come. बीच में थोड़ा थोड़ा लल आते रहेगा, but there is certainly something which at least a few years is left, if not more.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Fine. So next was cement. Now cement generally we have also referred to one metric called EBITDA per ton. Okay. But हम जैसे खुद analyze कर रहे थे, cement is again a very distributed kind of thing. I mean, I think logistics cost is also important. मोर और लेस अ कमोडिटी प्ले. तो जनरली जहाँ पे बनता है उसके सर्टन रेडियस में ज्यादा धंधा होता है. सो सीमेंट का आपके कौन से पैरामीटर्स है, एंड मे बी विच माइक्रो मार्केट्स, बिकॉज अगेन इन सीमेंट ऑल्सो देर हैज बीन अ फेयर बिट ऑफ कंसोलिडेशन इन द लास्ट 2-3 years. दैट हैज बीन अ बिग फीचर. तो सीमेंट के ऊपर योर थॉट्स एंड व्हाट यू आर लुकिंग एट.
Yeah, so cement is a very regional play. I mean, आपका नॉर्थ वाला आके साउथ में नहीं बेच सकता है, साउथ वाला नॉर्थ में नहीं बेच सकता है, एंड सो ऑन. ईस्ट वाला आके वेस्ट में नहीं बेच सकता है, एंड so there are five kind of regions: north, west, south, east, and central. तो अगेन डिफरेंट पैरामीटर्स ये है. साउथ में स्पेशली आंध्रा तेलंगाना इज द मोस्ट फ्रेगमेंटेड मार्केट इन इंडिया. तो वहाँ पे हमेशा ही ऐसा होता है कि कैपेसिटी यूटिलाइजेशन लो होता है, प्राइसिंग का ये. बट वैल्यूएशन भी सबसे अच्छे वहीं पे है, टू बी ऑनेस्ट. एंड देयर हैज बीन सम प्राइस हाइक्स ऑफ लेट, एंड टिल नाउ दे हैव स्टक. इफ दे काइंड ऑफ स्टिक, तो साउथ वाले बहुत अच्छा करेंगे, बिकॉज फॉर देम द डेल्टा विल बी फार हायर, और वैल्यूएशंस भी उनके लो है. सो उनमें एक पोजिशनल काइंड ऑफ पोजीशन, मतलब पोजिशनल बेट डेफिनेटली बन सकती है, एंड वैल्यूएशंस आर वेरी मच इन फेवर. लॉट ऑफ कंपनीज आर एट 35 to 40% of replacement cost. So you definitely can look into this sector.
ओके, अंडरस्टूड. एक पॉइंट रियल एस्टेट सेक्टर के बारे में अगेन केम टू माइंड व्हेन यू स्पोक अबाउट सीमेंट बीइंग अ रीजनल प्ले. सो जैसे आपने रियल एस्टेट के बारे में कमर्शियल रेसिडेंशियल एक सेग्रीगेशन किया, वैसे रियल एस्टेट आल्सो वर्क्स डिफरेंटली इन डिफरेंट पॉकेट्स. सो वेदर इट इज द प्राइसिंग इन दिल्ली एनसीआर टू बॉम्बे टू पुणे बैंगलोर एक्सेट्रा टू द ओवरऑल dynamics. So are there any specific regions again in real estate that are likely to do better than others? Any view on that?
I kind of like more, southern and western is where I would focus on because uh, I understand those markets better. NCR में there is, there's one large player, but then वहाँ का थोड़ा बोलते हैं ना, the kind of pricing and all that is something which is I think difficult to sustain. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of uh, you know don't have as much of an understanding of that market as I have of these other markets, and that's why I prefer these.
Right. So another point was on the metals and mining. तो अभी metals में जो हमें normally समझ में आता है, there are 3 or 4 main types of metals. There has been lot of story about copper and aluminum. Other than steel, of course, goes everywhere. It's been there for last many decades. So in metals, do you have any particular metal which you have a different thesis or a view which is more bullish on the other one for any reason?
So I think I'm most bullish on copper, but copper में कोई play नहीं मिल रहा है ना, to be honest. So in India, there is only one company which I don't like much. So uh, so I like copper the most, but uh, uh, no play. If one has to, then one has to look international. Uh, Aluminium is doing okay, not very great, but maybe on corrections it can be looked at because थोड़ा medium term or long term देखेंगे तो it should do well. But there could be some near term challenges of uh, currently for aluminium also. Uh, sorry, steel again too much dependent on China. As of now, I don't have any firm view. Yes, yeah, margins can improve from here because काफी नीचे है margins. Uh, Even iron ore is quite down. तो ये सब खराब साइकिल में है अभी. वैल्यूएशन अच्छे मिलेंगे तो बिल्कुल बेट लिया जा सकता है. And
Right.
you might have to wait for 1 or 2 years. ऐसा possibility है. As I said, I'm
Okay.
not very enthused because of the valuations.
Hmm. Got it. Got it.
And in fact, you
So
might
sir,
look
अभी
at their downstream players. तो pricing low है तो उनको फायदा हो सकता है. Their margins can improve. So that is one way to look at thing. This ये benign cycle में कि आप downstream वालों में ले लो, alloy makers है वगैरह है. They might do well.
understood. Understood. तो अभी नेक्स्ट इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट है कि टेक्सटाइल्स. ओके. हम जो रिसर्च कर रहे थे एट अ सेक्टर लेवल, अर्निंग्स एंड मार्जिन एक्सपेंशन वगैरह, तो इनफैक्ट करंट एफवाई में Q2 Q3 में we thought that on that level and the overall the size of opportunity valuations, textiles had started moving well and many companies in that. Okay. So but then of course there a certain market issue came about valuation. There was an overall fall, and some of the best players also underperformed in that time. And then, of course, what happened on 2nd April and onwards had its own bearing on various sectors due to the complete chaos. So, textile ke
So
upar again, which are those 2 3 parameters that you look at, and what is your sectoral view?
So I don't have too much of a view on this thing. Like the players which I like, the valuations I don't like. So I'm kind of, to be honest, just staying away from that. Also, I think what might have happened is अभी US में, I think inventory built up हो गया होगा अभी. So I'm not even sure कि अभी next 1 or 2 quarters में कितना demand रहेगा. टैरिफ्स का फायदा अपने को शायद नहीं हो बिकॉज वो चाइना के अलावा बाकी सब जगह 10%. तो बांग्लादेश से हमारा जो नैरो हो बिकॉज ऑफ टैरिफ्स यू नो competitiveness which was narrowing is has gone away. So I read a report and all that Bangladesh is 19% more competitive. तो unless there वहाँ पे कोई geopolitical बड़ा कुछ नहीं हो तो why would people buy shift from Bangladesh to here? So I don't know. I mean, एंड एज फार एज आई नो ऐसा कुछ हो नहीं रहा है कि बांग्लादेश वाला यहाँ है. यस, चाइना का कुछ यहाँ आ सकता है. दैट इज पॉसिबिलिटी. दैट पॉसिबिलिटी इज देयर. बट देन लेट्स सी. It's too early to basically decide on who will be winners from this all this tariff wars and all that. So I'll keep my fingers crossed and wait, because valuations. See, I can take a bet if valuations are in favor. अगर valuations favor में नहीं है तो I can't invest with uncertainty. So that is my take.
Understood, understood. I think valuations तो matter करेंगे ही. That is the whole part about you being cautious about the overall market levels also a year back. So that is well understood right from the start. Abhi, another important point away from sectors and something which bothers everybody. So if we look at a play, so suddenly we saw that in FY 24-25, the current financial year, the profit growths of NSE 500 companies and the broader market suddenly nosedived compared to even Q4 of FY 24. And then Q1 was slow, Q2 was slower, Q3 में एक single digit था, and whatever we have tracked so far in the last 3 weeks, again it seems that overall single digit ही रहेंगे profit growth, at least as far as NSE 500 constituents are concerned. Okay, and of course there will be some outliers. तो सर अभी वैल्यूएशंस के हिसाब से लोग देख रहे हैं कि there has been some amount of market correction. Okay, and we are seeing that maybe Q2 was the lowest profit quarter. So are we now, and also of course in the last 3-4 months, anything remotely negative has had a negative impact on the market level stocks. So where are we at that stage? Will we have to wait for another 2 to 3 quarters that the profit growths go back into the teens, at least early teens, and then the market starts looking at factoring it properly for the next few years, and then it does a upcycle? Or are we at a pessimistic point so much that generally bull markets are born on pessimism, height of pessimism? तो उसके बारे में एक जनरल आइडिया चाहिए था.
Yeah, so good question. See what happened. We know last year Q1, Q2 election time and post-election and all that. So those were like washouts, and Q3 में, yes, you're right. Some growth was there. You also know that government tightened their purse strings maybe for fiscal consolidation and fiscal health and all that. तो capex ही नहीं किया government and all that. So उसका ripple effect थोड़ा तो इकोनॉमी पे ओवरऑल आया है ना. इन दैट सेंस FY 25 was affected. Now one good thing will be starting from Q1 is के base effect will come into play. Okay, so I think we can grow in double digits for sure in FY 26. And also there are lot of uh, just as I was very cautious uh, during whole of last year. Now I am far more optimistic because last year I could see that earnings are not coming और market भाग रहा है. अब मुझे लग रहा है कि so last year से earnings better होगी और market नीचे है. A lot of correction has happened, so that is always good for a value investor. uh, तो एक low base है, and so I'll kind of like to put some things where which makes me positive from a medium and long term perspective. One is low base. uh, Crude has come down. That is a big factor for India. I think we should not forget. Uh, Again, our tax collections, GST as well as direct and indirect tax collections are still quite good. So and so economy is growing. It's maybe nominal, if not 13, then maybe 11, but still growing fairly decent. Uh, One good thing which has happened for last many weeks is FIs have returned. We also see a lot of capital flow redirection to countries like India. And I'll give a data point there. So US, just a few months back, uh, was commanding a 65% market cap of the world, and its GDP is 25% of the world. So there was a basically big distortion of market cap towards US. And with all these tantrums and all that happening, I see a lot of redirection happening uh, from US to other places. I mean, I'm not saying everything will come to India, obviously, but we have already seen, some of it going to Europe. So some definitely recent uh, redirection will happen towards India is what I'm expecting. So that is one positive. Uh, Again, we've had a correction and consolidation for some time now. So 8 months already, we have kind of been down. So that is good. And China plus one may actually play out now. We have to understand that this all this is happening is basically a trade war between US and China. I think that is becoming clear. Uh, uh, so we will do a trade deal eventually, obviously. We have done with UK. We will do it with US. We have decent diplomatic leverage. So actually, we definitely can take away some share from China for sure if we play our cards right. So that gives me a lot of hope. Our fiscal health is far better. Fiscal deficit is very much in control. Corporate balance sheets are, at probably decadal best. Interest rate cuts have started. RBI is far more accommodative, infusing liquidity. Inflation is benign, and to top it all, valuations have become far more favorable in many pockets. Not across. I still see a lot of excesses, but uh, far, you know, uh, more number of sectors and stocks where valuations are very much in favor. So these are some of the points which basically make me positive about the markets from a medium to long term perspective. I never hazard short term market directions and predictions because that is something which we can't do and we have never tried to do. Our focus has always been medium and long term. So from that sense, we are very, very constructive on the markets.
Yeah, got it.
And the
So
risk,
yeah, I mean there
so
is a
obviously
yeah.
the risks are, basically uh, US tariffs, the way things have been. Though I still think that a lot of it is basically just to sign deals and all that. It is all tantrums and all that. Eventually, I don't think that, people will realize that, it was all done to uh, basically eke out deals with different countries and so on. Another joker in the pack, obviously, is the situation which is happening currently with geopolitics between India and Pakistan and all that. So that remains a risk, obviously. If it gets if it escalates a lot and all that, that obviously remains a risk. But otherwise, I see far more positive than negative.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And thanks for putting the perspective that we generally look at the medium to long term, because we also believe that the short run, which can be say considered the next couple of quarters, is certainly going to be very volatile. And the fact that there are two views about the market correction so far. There is a camp which would like to believe कि इससे बुरा हो नहीं सकता है. We are a growing economy, etc. Already bad things are factored in. And there's a camp which is more senior, more experienced, which always feels that there is no, because those who have seen the small cap index going down by 70%, 60%, etc., they know that 20-25% is not really something which is the most or the worst. There can be a scenario, and the short term is always very shaky because we have seen so many things happening. There was FII behavior in October, then there was a lot of geopolitics, then the earnings issue, and then many sectors of storifications try to collapse like a pack of cards. And then what started from April is more like a change of the trade flows across the world. It is less about just about markets or the 1 or 2 quarters. That's surely bound to change. So अभी सर आपने जैसे बोला कि there is more liquidity, there is earnings which are likely to only get better from Q1, and of course there is also looming US recession that is coming. Okay, but when we talk about again a total market cycle change, okay, how does it typically happen? We would like to know, because for many people who have started investing post COVID or very recently, also based on a DIY method, not with too much research, because finally there's a portfolio construction involved, and there is a time when you try to allocate more to equity and less to equity. सो अभी मान लेते हैं कि काफी लोगों ने इक्विटी एलोकेशन शायद कम किया हो, तो when is the time to again get aggressive? Is this the best accumulation phase or it has to be still very cautious?
So again, I don't know. I mean, what is what is not a right time, I can say, but what is the right time? One can never be sure. Last year was not a right time. I mean, we've been calling it out. Okay, you need to be careful. I mean, it's not that we got into cash or something, but we kind of, basically repurposed uh, our list of stocks and portfolios to ones which can can fall lesser or can do well, and that kind of worked also. So the fall was, I mean, we are happy to say that we did not fall much, to be honest. Everybody fell obviously, but we did not uh, have big drawdown and all that. Because see, the thing is, you are I'm an investor who will not basically sit out of the market and all that. So I will kind of basically recalibrate my portfolio, and I'm fine taking 20-30% drawdowns and all that. And in fact, last year I tweeted also that I'm prepared to have a 30% drawdown in my portfolio. Luckily, I didn't get to that level, but obviously there was a drawdown and all that. So if you are prepared, it is fine. Uh, Now, if you are sitting on cash, what should be the methodology right now? Yeah, I think you can invest of 30% of your cash in the current market, and then over a period deploy the rest. If you are in it for the long term, I think surely a lot of money is to be made in India. Uh, uh, but can another 20-30% drawdown happen? Yes, for sure. I mean, we've seen it so many times in our career. So that's a possibility, and that's why I always say, you have tennis balls or eggs. If you have eggs, uh, you will not recover. So a lot of the high flyers of 2024, for example, will not recover their prices for uh, another 5 or some even for 10 years. That is the kind of excesses which had happened. And one thing I kind of keep to a lot of my friends, that some of the stocks, if they have corrected 50%, they can fall another 50% from there. Uh, so that is the kind of overvaluation we were seeing. Uh, so yeah, I mean, if you have good stocks, stocks which uh, are at a decent valuation, they will bounce back even if they fall. So uh, if you can't stomach those losses, then or I mean, not losses, rather the drawdowns, you have no business to be investing in equity.
Right, right. Thanks for that. And then the next logical question, which always remains a mix of science and art. So the art of portfolio construction, again, more from a practical perspective, and we are referring only to investors here, certainly not traders. बट जिसके पास पेशेंस है, जो एक पोर्टफोलियो कंस्ट्रक्ट करना चाहता है, बिकॉज what we repeatedly hear from the best investors is allocation matters. It is not just a matter of spraying across 25-30 stocks. And but then stocks, even if you create a very proper portfolio of 30 stocks, there's always a likelihood that different stocks are running in different directions, some are not doing anything. So just wanted to understand the art of portfolio construction and later on managing it as well.
Yeah. So see, allocation is important. Sufficient diversification is also important. Uh, so I kind of am against concentrated portfolios. People, there's I know people who are into just one stock, two stocks, three stocks, and that is kind of highly risky, according to me. I am fairly diversified personally, uh, but then I'm quite active in my uh, portfolio, and I continuously keep on recalibrating and all that. And this is a great time to recalibrate your portfolio. Uh, See, lot of his stocks will be down, but they are down for a reason. If you wait for them to come back again, uh, just without understanding what has happened, or whether you made a mistake, it might not come back. It might make sense to sell at a loss and buy into something where you have more conviction. So loss aversion is something which should be avoided. I mean, that is one of the biggest bane of a lot of investors I've seen. Uh, so allocation may, I would say that for smaller portfolios, you have like, let's say, 10, 15 stocks. For, larger portfolios, you can go up to 25 stocks is what I think. Obviously, I have more because I have a lot of tracking positions, but then uh, as a construct, yes, 20 stocks will be 80% of my portfolio. So that's my construct. And that is because I have a fairly decent sized portfolio. So I need that diversification also. Uh, and allocation wise, I generally very rarely go above 25% in one sector. Uh, so banking and financials is where I had gone below, and that is a sector which is fairly large. So one can go up to 30-35% of the portfolio. That is the only exception I generally make. Sometimes it happens that you invested, let's say, 10-15% of your portfolio, but uh, it runs up a lot that it becomes half your portfolio. That has happened to me uh, in my capital goods, especially the transformer stocks, and they become fairly large. So over a period, I've kind of pruned that, and so that can happen. So you have to periodically rebalance your allocations also. Also, equity as a percentage. Let's say for you, ideal is, let's say, 60 equity, 20 real estate, and 20 liquid. There would become periods where, maybe 2024 was a period where your equity has gone to, let's say, 80%. Uh, it's highly possible, or even 85%. And that happened with a lot of people. Uh, those are the times when you should bring it back to, this thing that kind of makes you book profits during the highs. So if you have some parameters and some strict discipline regarding your allocations, you can avoid some of these big falls also to a certain extent.
राइट राइट, वेल अंडरस्टूड। सर अभी एक टॉपिक जो आपने टच किया था अमंग्स द वेरियस फैक्टर्स अफेक्टिंग द मार्केट एंड लाइकली टू अफेक्ट, बट लेट्स लुक फ्रॉम अ ट्रेड पर्सपेक्टिव एंड इंडिया पर्सपेक्टिव। जो चाइना प्लस वन है, बिकॉज आई हैव ऑल्सो बीन इन द इंडस्ट्री, ओके, so again there are two three different views. One is that China plus one was very much on in the last one decade or so, but maybe most of it has missed India for various reasons. So that you can have a view. Second is, some people feel that certainly this is just the start, and China plus one is on, India is benefiting, and the current state of flux, which is happening to be a direct head-on between US and China, मतलब इंडिया के पास आना ही चाहिए और कहाँ जाएगा, ये दूसरा एक एग्जैक्ट अपोजिट व्यू है. And again, for that there are multiple reasons, but we believe that, I mean, having seen many industries closely, at least I feel that it will be somewhere in between, because neither can we match the efficiency with which China has done in the last 2 decades. And basically, if US has an opinion that they don't want to depend too much on somebody, the whole point is diversification, then it has to be somewhere in between. That is one. But more importantly, other than this generic view, which are the likely sectors or industries which are going to benefit by this in India, which are export oriented, which are likely to benefit by this complete realignment of global trade, which is likely.
Yeah, so I fairly agree with your view. I mean, there are some sectors where China plus one has kind of worked. For example, chemicals, we have doubled over the, I think, the next last 5-7 years we have doubled our share in the world and so on. Again, China is large, very large, and I fully agree. I mean, we just cannot match China in many sectors, especially where automation is there and where scale and all that. China is on a different level. There is no doubt about it. Uh, but all these tariffs and all this trade war does give us an opportunity, because what happens is, in labor intensive sectors, we are at an advantage. From that perspective, our labor is far cheaper than the Chinese labor, for example. So that is one place where we can basically take away some share. So I see a lot of people say we'll replace China. No, no, I don't think we can replace China. We just have to, let's say they have 50% market share, we just have to take 5%. That's all. For the next 5, 7 years, if we can do that, that I think we are good enough. That's the kind of incremental uh, changes we should be aiming for and looking at. Uh, so yeah, electronics I think we have done fairly well. Chemicals we have done well. Uh, Tiles is another sector where we have done well, for example. So yes, there are these are the few examples where some China plus one has worked for us. Now coming to what we can do in the future, where we can be a force, is I think electronics. Uh, we can do uh, uh, wonders, especially with all this semiconductor policy. And although obviously it remains a bit long term, but I think eventually we will get there. So electronics, I think, can be really big for us. Electronic semiconductors, uh, automobiles, textiles, manufacturing. I think green energy we can be a force. So these are some of the sectors where uh, I think we can do well, provided we don't screw up. I mean, for all this to happen, we do need, uh, labor reforms, land reforms, ease of doing business. Uh, we have it in us to be able to do it. We just need that support. Is what I think.
Yes. So thanks for some of the guidance on the sectors which are likely to benefit specifically due to this. And couple of sectors. I mean, any discussion is not complete without referring to the glory that we saw. But what is a feeling is that the sectors like a defense, power, etc., which has boomed in the last 3 4 years. Okay, एक व्यू ये भी है कि these are actually going to work for a long time. And while the segment A and segment A B players might have done a lot and they have already overvalued a lot in the last few years, but it seems that इनका जो ecosystem है, I'm referring currently to power and renewables and then the defense. इनका ecosystem अभी भी develop हो रहा है और develop होते जाएगा. Considering the size of our country, considering now two different things in power, size of the country, the penetration and the demand that will come, and especially in the transmission part, and in the defense on obviously the fact that we were just net importers for billions of dollars. Now we have started manufacturing better than earlier. तो ये दो सेक्टर्स के बारे में अगेन देयर इज अ क्लासिक decadal play kind of words that generally go around in any bull market cycle. तो इन दोनों के बारे में आपके क्या व्यूज है अगले कुछ सालों के लिए?
No, no, I definitely like both these sectors for sure. Both the sectors will do very well, especially see power में तो मतलब बहुत ही clear है uh, with the advent of AI and all that. Power needs are going to be huge. uh, Plus US में complete refurbishment has to happen. Europe again, power infrastructure is needs to be revamped and so on. So I do agree that these sectors will do well for a long time. We just have to be, the thing is for us to make investments where we are comfortable, that see this is what we think will happen, but what if it doesn't happen? What is our plan B? uh, does the valuation give us comfort that if plan A doesn't work, uh, uh, how much protected we are? So for example, uh, if you, let's say, invest at a multiple of 100 in a company, and you know that it is going at 30%, what if it slows down to 20%? So I'll give one example. There's a company, one large company, uh, which large, basically kind of retailer, and it's growing at 50-60%. Now last couple of quarters it has slowed down bit, still growing very well, but you see the contraction which happens in the PE and in the price. And the thing is that even after that 40-50% of correction in one of the best names, you still feel that uh, what if growth slow down another 5%, another 500 basis points, it can still correct a lot. So that that is the problem which you have when you go in with high valuation. What if things go wrong to your thesis? I mean, are we protected enough from that drawdown which can happen? And so some of the stocks which have corrected, very good stocks which have corrected 40%, I still can't, go and invest because I still see a PEG of 4 and 3, which is expensive, especially in this market when there are, good 20% growth companies available at 20p. For me, I would rather buy those than a 30% grower at, let's say, 70, 80p. Uh, so it's just that, have a choice available. So why would you, go out of your comfort zone? So that's what has happened in both these sectors with lot of names. The valuations have run up a lot. You'll see me harping a lot on valuations uh, again and again, but that is something which is very strict parameter for us. We will let the opportunity go rather than around valuation side. But to
Yeah.
answer your question, yes, both these sectors we like a lot. We have investments, and in fact, this correction gave opportunities to invest in some of these sectors where valuation became a bit favorable. So that's why you say, you welcome corrections.
Right, right. So for the watch list, we get the what we consider good prices, जो पहले available नहीं थे 2 साल तक, right? Sir,
So
within the power sector, between say, what are your views on the transformer space, where demand seems to be exploding and still there is a low supply, and the main capex is going to be, operational in 2-3 years time. ये transformer की बात है. And second is beneath the renewable space, the solar module sector. So these two again, of course, there has been some lull, but आपको लगता है कि this will continue for another 3-4 years, where demand is completely outstripping the supply.
yeah, I mean, I'm much more comfortable with transformer sector than with the solar sector, to be honest, because solar में see the thing is the pricing of solar cells have been reducing. So वो एक risk है. Plus your whole thesis lot of times is on exports to US and so on. So there are just too many external variables for you which can go wrong. So I'm not comfortable paying those valuations where there are such big risks. But for transformer sectors, I mean, obviously, I will not buy at these prices, but I would hold on to what I have, not all, but some of them, where I see, reasonable, valuations still, and growth. As you said, definitely, yeah, we can see that they can grow for next 2 3 years. Also, we have to see that most of them have announced a lot of capex. So थोड़ा देखना पड़ेगा मतलब बट आई थिंक साल 2 साल मुझे लगता है ठीक लग रहा है अभी भी बट अगेन वैल्यूएशंस तो देखना पड़ेगा
Okay,
मतलब I would rather
understood.
yeah I would I mean if you're having it I would rather it's more like a hold zone for me rather than buy because buy में paying 50 times at peak valuations or rather peak EBITDA margins uh, it can be difficult, can be counterproductive. I'll give some examples. Uh, 2021 में chemicals में everybody margin shot up, multiples went high. बिल्कुल यही हुआ था मतलब. And then even the best corrected 70%, right? So we have to be a bit careful also. कहीं यूएस रिसेशन में चला गया वहां से डिमांड ही नहीं आई समथिंग सम शिट कैन हैपन राइट तो आर वी मतलब हम लोग कितने प्रोटेक्टेड है उसमें थोड़ा देखना चाहिए बट looks like that they can do well for the at least next 2 years.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, one good takeaway has been that it's good to be bullish, but bullish and cautious should go hand in hand, especially when the valuations are high. And at that time, you are trying to bank on a strong growth. So एक होता है कि valuation growth का एक अच्छा combination है, but जहाँ पे that combination is on the edgier side or on the higher side, वहाँ पे we have to be careful कि first plan work नहीं हुआ तो second plan कितनी मतलब where can it go? अभी
Exactly.
सर
No, so
एक
risk mitigation
हम्म,
should be there. I mean, because what happens is in these sectors, if you see, if cycle turns ना आपके 8-8 साल 10-10 साल वापस वो भाव नहीं आएंगे. That can happen. Now, if you are nimble enough to, basically get out quickly when you see that happening and all that, maybe. But generally, you know, with my kind of style where, I generally like to hold for a long time and all that. So I'm not that nimble कि यार ठीक टर्न हो गया और immediately मैं निकल गया. ये easily मुझसे होता नहीं है. तो that's why I kind of, basically uh, have an error of omission rather than an error of commission.
या थैंक्स. तो सर अभी वो एक्चुअली एक पॉइंट ही है बिकॉज आई थिंक टू होल्ड ऑन फॉर क्वाइट सम टाइम स्पेशली व्हेन थिंग्स आर नॉट मूविंग इन एनी डायरेक्शन. सो वो कन्विक्शन जो बिल्ड होता है तो वहां पे जैसे आपने शुरू में कुछ सेक्टर्स के 2-3 पैरामीटर्स बताए. देन ऑफ कोर्स एट अ कंपनी लेवल आल्सो देयर वुड बी सर्टेन पैरामीटर्स दैट यू सी. But then, how does the high conviction materialize that being early into the cycle, which you do, then you keep on waiting because again, I've been a corporate citizen, so quarter on quarter also there are swings in the profits, cash flows. वहां पे भी अनएक्सपेक्टेड ड्रोन्स मिसाइल्स होते रहते हैं जहां से कैश फ्लो अफेक्ट हो जाता है इन ऑपरेशंस इटसेल्फ. सो आर देयर हाउ डू व्हाट आर दोस की लर्निंग्स ऑफ वेरियस साइकिल्स की ये कुछ चीजें देखने के बाद जो कन्विक्शन रहता है there's a higher probability that in the next 2 3 3 years that sector and that company will explode.
So I say that, you look at every quarter results, but you act annually. So we generally don't, react on quarterly numbers because, so many variables. एक क्वार्टर में इन्वेंट्री लॉस आ गया, एक में कुछ अलग गेन आ गया, कुछ यू नो सो यू इट इज लाइक आप मूवी देखो, पिक्चर देखोगे तो आपको मतलब क्वार्टरली रिजल्ट्स इज लाइक अ स्टिल पिक्चर एंड एनुअल और 2 year 3 year results are like a movie which will give you a better अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड पर्सपेक्टिव. तो क्वार्टरली रिजल्ट हम देखते हैं सब, लेकिन हम लोग रिएक्ट नहीं करते. वी गिव मैनेजमेंट लॉट ऑफ लीवे एंड टाइम टू परफॉर्म. और ये आई टेल यू ऑनेस्टली दिस ऑब्सेशन अबाउट बेसिकली reacting to each result quarterly and all that is very very counterproductive for value investors and investors. So I'm not in that stage camp where हर क्वार्टर को ध्यान से देखना है, बिल्कुल जरूरत नहीं होती है उसकी. इज व्हाट आई हैव लर्नड ओवर द इयर्स. In fact, I made a point that generally I look at results after a delay so that there is no reaction from me.
Yeah, I think that's another good point because generally kabhi kabhi prior 1 month to the result there is a lot of movement in the price action and sometimes after and sometimes they are counterintuitive also कि किसी कंपनी का रिजल्ट बहुत अच्छा आता है उसके बाद एक्चुअली एक आध महीने के लिए प्राइस टैंक करता है एंड वाइस वर्सा. So I guess looking at it from a arm's length is always a good thing. So, sir, those were the main points that we wanted to discuss. बाकी तो as we know, after especially COVID, आज इंडिया में जितने भी 10-12 करोड़ डीमैट अकाउंट्स है, okay, I think at least half of them have come into existence in the post-COVID period. एंड जहाँ पे काफी सारा DIY इन्वेस्टिंग, चार्ट्स बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग या इन्फ्लुएंसर बेस्ड स्टॉक नेम्स वो सब चल रहा है. सो रियली वांटेड अ गुड काइंड ऑफ understanding की investing, value investing, what should be the start of the whole process for the listeners.
So I always say someone giving you stock name means you are the product. Uh, as simple as that. Why would anybody give stock names on Twitter and all that? Is what I always think. मतलब उसको उसका क्या इंसेंटिव है उसमें आपको देने को. तो सी एक टेक्निकल एनालिस्ट है या एक मतलब बेसिकली प्राइस वॉल्यूम, उसके लिए इंसेंटिव ये है कि वो स्टॉक को पॉपुलर करेगा तो देयर विल बी मोर वॉल्यूम, इट विल गो अप एंड ऑल दैट. तो इट इज ऑब्वियसली इट इज बेनिफिशियल फॉर हिम, तो वो करेगा आपको. लेकिन अभी आपको समझना है कि आप उसमें आप प्रोडक्ट बन रहे हो. सो दिस इज आई हैव सीन दैट फॉर मेजॉरिटी पीपल, नॉट फॉर ऑल, दिस इज अ शॉर्ट रेसिपी फॉर डिजास्टर. Uh, Investing is, is a serious business. यार ट्विटर पे किसी ने नाम दे दिया या इंस्टा पे नाम दे दिया और आप इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो तो चांसेस आर दैट यू आर गोइंग टू लूज मनी इन द लॉन्ग टर्म. ऑब्वियसली फ्यू इयर्स ऐसे थे बीच में अभी टिल मिड ऑफ 2024 के आपने लिया और पैसा बनाया. ऐसा हुआ है, 2-3 साल ऐसे गए, 3 साल ये सभी ने पैसा बनाया, मोस्ट मोस्ट पीपल. बट दैट इज नॉट समथिंग विच विल लास्ट, और वो हमको दिख रहा है अभी इज हैपनिंग इन द लास्ट 8 months एंड ऑल दैट. तो you can't make money based on others conviction and based on all these tips and all that is what I believe. uh, and that's why I mean savvy data is there. More 94% traders lose money and so on. तो पैसा तो गंवाना ही है आपको लॉन्ग टर्म में. शॉर्ट टर्म में मिल सकता है, मतलब वो ठीक है, यू आर लकी एंड ऑल दैट, और मार्केट का फेज ऐसा है तभी पैसा मिल सकता है, बट लॉन्ग टर्म में आपका पैसा बनेगा नहीं. सो या आई मीन व्हाट for investors, I always say that look at fundamentals, uh, go a bit deep, just don't look at profit numbers and invest. Look at operating cash flows. Very very important point. I mean, uh, see, order books can be managed. We have seen so many examples जहाँ पे fake order books है वगैरह. Revenues can be managed. Circular revenues generate करते हैं. There have been some regulator का action हुआ है companies पे जहाँ पे circular revenue, एक one company is billing another, that company is billing another, and triangle में ये काम हो रहा है. All these things happen, right? Profits can be managed. So sanity is basically operating cash flows. Yes, there will be periods जो हाई ग्रोथ में के 1-2 साल ऑपरेटिंग कैश फ्लो नहीं आ रहे वगैरह, बिकॉज आपकी इन्वेंट्री बढ़ रही है, रिसीवेबल्स बढ़ रहा है, तो ठीक है. बट if it is there for a long time, I just some time back I saw a company in an extremely hot sector. 4 years EBITDA is 550 crores, and over that 4 years cash flow is negative 5 crore. So क्या होना है उसमें? Eventually one day you will see write off, big write off and all that. If companies cannot convert their profits uh, to cash over a longer period, it is a disaster. So many examples are there in history. So look at operating cash flows, look at receivables, look at inventory. बहुत सारा उधर आके बैठ जाता है सब कुछ. If you are a value investor, look at PEG. For growth companies, for high growth companies, you can go max to 2.5, maybe 3 also, provided you have a 5-year view of sustained growth. Uh, Otherwise, in these kind of markets, 1 to 1.5 forward peg में आपको अच्छे stocks मिल जाते हैं, तो why not buy those? So those are the kind of parameters I look at. And I'll give you example. This, if a value stock falls 30-40% and story has not changed and valuations are in favor, you will have the courage to add more. But a growth stock, if you had bought at a very high PE or PEG, even if it corrects 40%, you will not be able to invest. So I'll give an example. A 30 PE stock growing at 20%. If it corrects to a 20 or 15 PE and growth is intact, यू कैन एक्चुअली ऐड ट्रकलोड्स. मतलब आप पिरामिड कर सकते हो इसको. मतलब आपके पास 100 है तो आप 200 ले सकते हो, 300 ले सकते हो एट दिस वैल्यूएशंस. बट 100 पी स्टॉक ग्रोइंग एट 15%, even if it falls 50%, it still is at 3 plus ka PEG. Even if it falls 50%, you will not have the courage to add more. So that's why I'm just saying that look at PEG. Forward PEG is what you should look at, to be honest. And obviously that you can do if you understand the company and understand the sector. So these are few of the things from my end I want to share with people have uh, who are serious about investing and want to do value investing.
Great, great. A wealth of knowledge and understanding in less than 90 minutes. So, if you're fine, then we can start with some questions. I hope time is permitting you.
Maybe 10-15 minutes max.
Yes. So, we had announced the space yesterday. So Mukesh has sent a couple of questions. I'll first read them out. Uh, so does management caliber and corporate governance matter in cyclical investing? How much weight to assign?
It matters in all investing, to be honest. Uh, uh, See, we have a we have 0% tolerance to corporate governance. Uh, uh, that is something which we have ingrained in our process. So the corporate governance we will not have. I mean, zero tolerance. Management has to be good. It is across uh, companies, not only cyclicals. In all companies, management is probably the most important factor.
Hmm.
Sorry, what was the second
Right.
question?
Second was how much weight to assign amongst the various factors.
So I mean, for us, it is almost non-negotiable. So management has to be above average.
Hmm.
It is kind of a veto.
Right.
Because see, the thing is how many stocks you need, right? Even if you're diversified, you need 20 stocks, maybe 25 stocks, right? So users have to find those, right? And it's not that you every year, even if you have a churn, if you churn your portfolio over in 4 years, how many stocks you need per year? At the most three, four, five, not more than that, right? So I say that why you want to compromise on that. You definitely can find four or five stocks where management is good, where valuations are favorable every year. I think that can happen even in years like 2024, to be honest.
Right. Next question is: are you comfortable in investing in PSUs? What is your view?
Very much, very much. I mean, to be honest, we have made some of the best returns in PSUs. The only thing is, yes, PSUs most of the times for us are positional bets. It is very rarely we would, be married to them for a very long time. So it could be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years kind of bet at the max. Uh, 4 years is also kind of extreme. Generally, it will be max of 3 years. Obviously, there will be some stocks where you can, but those are rare exceptions. Uh, but otherwise, you have, so for PSUs, our criteria for entering and for exiting are already set. Before we enter a PSU stock, our exit criteria is already kind of set. Yes, it happens that sometimes you can exit earlier than, and you might not make the max out of it. It is possible, but we are happy. For us, the risk reward ratio should be favorable. If risk reward ratio is uh, 1:3, 1:4, 1:5, that is good enough for us. So for example, 20% downside and 60% upside, that is good enough for us. Or uh, and we have found uh, investable ideas where where we felt that downside is 20%, but over the next 2 3 years upside is 100%. We've been able to find ideas like that in PSUs, not once, many times, and that kind of risk reward is favorable for us. So we are not averse to investing in PSUs. In fact, we love it.
Got it. But only thing you will be always more fleet-footed compared to some of the other longer plays that
Absolutely.
you would like to have, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Next question is by Abhishek.
At the same
Before
time,
COVID,
I mean, we will not do trading for 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year also. Our bets will be 1 year, 2 3 or 4 years, just to clarify.
right? So just I got a thought instantly asking you. So PSUs which are positional bets can be 1 to 3 years. Okay. So
Right.
let's take the exactly other side where you do a value investing and the company is doing well. Okay. And which can have a ideally a bigger horizon for holding compared to the PSUs or this 1 2 years. So typically your sell will come after a certain event like the original thesis is over, or again if you are holding for a long time there's always a likelihood that a company which is performing very well, its price can also go way ahead of the valuations. So typically in a multi-year holding, What are the main reasons that you exit?
So yeah, again, so if it goes to some option valuation, like let's say a PE of 5 or something. So as I said, we prepare a matrix, we prepare scenarios where we assign blue sky valuations and all that. When it gets to those kind of valuations, and again, it depends on the type of markets, sentiments in the market, market cycle. If you see there is too much of greed in the market, ideally you want to exit in blue sky, to be honest. So again, that is something which you learn over the years of investing, that now is the time to be greedy for riding your winners. So that comes with experience. So luckily we were able to ride some of our for example, transformer bets to huge multi-baggers than what we had anticipated, even in the blue sky scenario. But then that is also moving metrics, because what happens is you prepare this thing and then you keep on updating that metrics periodically, because sometimes the companies perform far better than your expectations, and then everything changes in the metrics also. So again, it is basically constant review process which happens. It's not a daily or quarterly, but maybe twice a year kind of reviews which happen, and then the parameters or the numbers in the matrix changes, and then again your so that's how you can make your winners big, is when you keep on evaluating and keep on monitoring the progress of the companies and so on.
Got it. Next question is from Abhishek. Before COVID, cyclical stocks in India used to experience extended bull runs, but post COVID, these cycles seem shorter and less predictable. Do you think this shift is due to rise of influencers and instant sharing of breakout, breakdown alerts, which now drives more retail participation and movements and shorter holding periods? How do you see this impacting the nature of investing in cyclicals going forward?
Excellent question by Abhishek. Yes, I mean, we have observed that cycles are becoming shorter. The returns you make from cycles are becoming lesser. Uh, Cyclicality reducing in a lot of sectors. Uh, it see, one of the reasons could be, I think, is that I think that balance sheets are very good. Corporate balance sheets have never been as good as what they are right now. So what happens is, even in a bad cycle, the market doesn't punish it as they would have done it in previous cycles and so on. So that could be one of the reasons. Again, information overload is there now. Information is available with everybody. I used to say that uh, information has been available for quite a while, to be honest, but the inferences were different for different people. Now with the advent of AI and all that, I think inferences will also become democratized. So what will be your edge? I think the only edge will be your behavior, to be honest, and that is what kind of uh, worries me also, and ascertains me also, that if I can control my behavior, I can still do well in the markets. So yeah, I mean, very interesting times, to be honest.
Yeah. So I think I have accepted your speaker request. If you can ask the question directly.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, Jiten sir. Just one question actually. When you will start onboarding new investors like us on Aurum once again?
No,
I'm
no, I
like
think no, there are
waiting since long.
no plans
No?
for that. I mean, we have already announced that the service will end in December.
Okay, 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 okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay,
for
okay.
sure,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
sure.
We have one more request. AK, made you the speaker. AK.
So to just before AK speaks, I want to say that to Ajinkya and all those who have showered their love on us and all, I will continue to basically. basically share whatever I've learned and whatever I feel is worth sharing. I will continue to do that. I will continue to talk about sectors I like and so on. That will always be available, regardless of that what whether we have a service or not. So that I can assure.
Hi Jiten sir, I have a question.
Sure, please go
So
ahead.
yeah, so at the current situation, still all the sectors for me looks still expensive. So should we wait for correct time or for the prices? How do you look in the current scenario? And second question is how you see finance sector at the current moment, like banking and NBFC.
So I did give you on finance earlier. Uh, I believe some of the larger ones have actually run up, and uh, I mean from here you will just get mm, 10 to 15% kind of returns in the stocks is what I feel. Uh, but there are stocks in financial even now where there are potential where it can give 70 to 100% kind of returns in the next 3 years. Kind of opportunities are still there in financials. So we are seeing that, and the larger ones maybe can give 10 to 15% per year. That is what I'm working with right now, as far as financials is concerned. As far as valuations are concerned, there are areas of fraud and there are lot of pockets of value. So again, you have to basically dig deep, and I've already shared sectors earlier where we think valuations are in favor and where cycles could turn in the future and so on. So that I already shared earlier.
Right.
Thank
Thanks, AK. And I've made Sai the next speaker.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Jiten sir, thank you so much for doing this. I've also seen a lot of YouTube videos from yourself regarding cyclical investing. It's been very, very helpful. But I just today have a different question. It's about portfolio allocation, right? So the number of stocks which you will have in a portfolio. And if you have, let's say you have high conviction in one particular stock, and of course, I'm asking this as an individual investor, right? Not as somebody who manages other people's money, but if you are an individual investor and you have very, very high conviction in one stock and you've bought it at very low valuation, peak of the cycle, would you allocate it for 20 to 25% of your portfolio?
So with my portfolio size, I think 25% might be difficult for me to hold on to any stock where I will have 25%, to be honest. But I think I can go up to 15% in one stock max if I have extremely high conviction. Uh, uh, but yeah, as I said, for most people, 15 to 20 stocks, 15 to 25 rather stocks should be a good number with highest allocation maybe 15-20%
Understood.
per
No,
stock.
just
Yeah.
of course, you definitely have a bigger size portfolio for sure. But let's say somebody who's starting out, who's been in the market for like 5 6 years, and that's just from that aspect.
Again, personal this thing. Choice and personal temperament. I know some good friends who are very concentrated. They will have only 4 or 5 stocks, and they've done very well. I mean, one of them is I just saw him in the space today also. Yeah, I mean, depends on personal temperament. Uh, there is no right or wrong, but for most people, I think 15 to 25 is ideal. Uh, It also depends on, if you have, for somebody like me, for whom, one is the size and second is, I don't have, I don't work anywhere. I don't have any other income coming in. Uh, so for me, the risk is different. For somebody who's younger, who has a lot of working years ahead of him, multiple sources of, income, they can take high risk. They can have concentrated portfolios. So again, it is different for different people.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And just to add, if you are concentrated, and what if one of your stocks, so let's say, you're concentrated in three stocks, and one of your stocks is, for example, where a fraud comes in, one, recent one, I'd seen, in fact, I saw that this stock was large allocation in a couple of my friends' portfolios. They had kind of 30% allocation, and now they're stuck because that particular stock where there was recent SEBI action also, and despite signs and all that, they just because the position is so large, they kind of, you get married to the stock, and you don't want to listen to the negative voices or rating downgrade and so on, and then there is no exit also, and you lose 90-95% of your uh, you know wealth in that particular stock. And if it is 30%, then it can set you back many years. So
Understood.
yeah, those kind of risks always remain uh, with concentrated portfolios.
Okay. And also a follow up on that question. So, since we are talking about cyclical bets, would you allocate, let's say, your top position, which could be 10 to 15 percentage on a single stock, on a cyclical bet?
Oh yes, definitely.
Okay,
Definitely.
great. Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So Kaustubh, I think oh, there
Hello.
is, yeah, let's make this as the
Hi,
last
sir.
question, Kaustubh.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
Rajat, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I was asking about some matrices we can follow for the cyclical investing. Like I have been following it for last 2 3 years. So I think that operating profit margin is one of a good metrics to track for most of the companies. So are there any other matrices which apply to say a large basket of the companies to follow that this is a cyclical low? Like for BPCL and all, it was a operating profit margin was a multi-year low few months back.
Absolutely. I think you're on the right track, and I think you're doing good. So again, another thing you can look at is, replacement cost, price to book. These are some of the parameters you can look at. Also, you can look at, return on capital employed. How much of what is the average 5 year or 10 year ROC, and what it is at currently, if it is at a substantial discount and so on. So some of these parameters, but I think you're on the right track.
Thank you, sir.
So thanks, Rajat. And the last 1 minute, thank you everybody for the participation, and more importantly, Jiten sir, for sharing your views on many aspects, been taking notes. I hope everybody has taken some notes because there has been so much to learn, understand. What I would request everybody is, after this is over, and those who did not get a chance to ask questions, you can please put it in the comments box, including suggestions, including feedback, as well as questions. We are very active on Twitter, and we'll make it a point to respond to you in the next 24 hours. So thanks again, and thank you, Jiten sir. Lots of gratitude for spending this valuable time with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It was